At Lunacorp Tower in Melville, Easton, Ted York was sitting in the 12th floor guest room, smiling with a gentle look in his eyes, watching as people passed by outside. That was until a young woman in a black blazer and black framed glasses strode in, flanked by two men with stern looks on their faces. "Josie, is Luna still busy?" Ted asked the young woman. Josie was frowning at him despite his smile, a brief flicker of disgust showing in her eyes. "Allow me to introduce you to these men. They are lawyers representing Lunacorp, and you were asked to come for one purpose only: to sign your divorce papers." And with those words she flung a copy of the divorce agreement at Ted. Ted's smile and gentle expression faded as he frowned. He did not read the divorce papers, however, instead keeping his eyes on Josie as he asked quietly, "Divorce papers? What's the meaning of this?" Josie chuckled coolly. "The meaning is very obvious. Luna Lambert, that is Ms. Lambert, is divorcing you. Quit playing dumb and sign it already, and everyone will be better off. And don't worry. Ms. Lambert is sentimental and will compensate you generously. But if you don't sign the papers, you'll be our enemy. Don't blame us for what happens then." The carrot and stick treatment only left Ted repulsed and frowning, as Josie poised herself loftily as if she was giving him alms. "Hey, you've really gotten even more full of yourself ever since you started working as Luna's assistant. Also become your enemy? Do you really think you can threaten me like that?" Josie giggled and nodded. "If you want to take it that way, sure. Because everything I said is a fact. Sign the papers and the divorce will at least be amicable. If you refuse, we're going to target you. But what are you going to do about it? A word of advice, since we were friends back in the day. Don't put Luna on the spot. You don't deserve her anymore, because you're both from completely different worlds. Forget Melville. Luna's fame and beauty is now known throughout Easton, and she's a self-made woman worth over $1 billion. But what about you, Ted? What are you compared to her? Hell, I could leave that aside and talk about love instead. Is there still any love left between you and Luna? It's undeniable that you two loved each other in the past, but what about the past 2 years? You and Luna barely met a handful of times. As a matter of fact, have you seen her in the past 2 months? So what love is there to speak of? A couple that can't stay together will eventually drift apart." Josie's words were filled with haughtiness, as all of Lunacorp, even people from outside, had always shown her due respect, since she was both Luna's assistant and best friend. And what was Ted compared to that? He was no more than an ordinary man. Aside from collecting a little rent from his 2 shops, all he did was stay in the kitchen, paint, or write gibberish literature. He was supposed to be a young adult in the phase of furthering his career, but there was no such ambition from him, living as if he was already retired way ahead of schedule. Did someone like him deserve to be with Luna, whose future was endlessly bright? Certainly not. Ever since Josie started working for Luna, she had met many young and handsome men, some of them self-made entrepreneurs or heirs to business empires. There was every variety to choose from, and Ted was still nothing compared to them, having nothing going for him aside from his good looks. Nonetheless, that was when Ted asked, "And that's what Luna wants?" As if hearing a joke, Josie smirked and nodded nonchalantly. "Of course it's what Luna wants. Why else would these papers have her signature on it?" Calm slowly crept up in Ted's gaze, and he snorted self-deprecatingly. "So it's all because I have no money and no influence? So she must abandon me because I can't keep up?" Josie shrugged. "If that offers you any comfort, then yes." Ted took a deep breath and finally picked up the divorce papers. Reading through it, he chuckled. It was really generous. But did he really need that? "So, I'll get the villa, the Benz, cash, and even one of her restaurants as alimony." How generous. Talk about an order that can't be refused. Josie's smirk of disdain broadened in turn. "That's worth over $20 million altogether. Sign those papers and it's all yours." After all, they were talking about a lot of money here, however. Ted suddenly laughed as he stood up, shaking his head and flinging the divorce papers back at Josie. "It's generous, but I'm not signing it." "What?" Josie snarled through her teeth, glaring at him. Ted's eyes turned cool as he fearlessly held her gaze. "I said I'm not signing it, and I don't need your so-called alimony. If Luna wants a divorce, she can get it, but she has to personally tell me that. As for you, Josie Stone, you don't get to intervene in our marriage." Josie was ready to argue right then, but Ted's eyes suddenly flared in rage as he pointed at the door and bellowed, "Get out! I'm not discussing this any further unless Luna shows up. His bellow left Josie flinching. It was the first time she had ever seen him snapping, and she could not help but feel feared as the commotion was drawing the employees' attention outside. Josie was left gritting her teeth, glaring viciously at Ted still. Before she could leave to look for Luna, Luna herself entered. She was alluring as ever, her expression of confidence and strut only adding to her charm. Before Josie could speak, Luna shook her head, gesturing for Josie to be silent. Luna then picked up the divorce papers from the table, leveling a cool look at Ted as she sighed softly. There's no need to shout. It's just the outcome of your own incompetence, and behaving like that would only make me despise you further. This divorce is what I want, so sign it. If the alimony isn't enough for you, I can add more. But I hope that this will be resolved by today, and we won't have anything to do with each other from now on. Ted laughed. The divorce was basically decided on one side, and she even had a third party deliver her the papers. And when he snapped, she called it a result of his incompetence. How laughable. Still, he said, I knew this would happen eventually, Luna Lambert. I just didn't think you'd actually go through with it. Let me ask you this. In our years of marriage, have I wronged you in any way? Luna shook her head. You've been very good to me and my family. In fact, you took good care of us at the start and you never cheat. I can admit to all that, but I'm sorry I can't stay with you because I can't take it anymore. Ted frowned but asked quietly, what have I done that you can't take anymore? That you must demand a divorce.
Luna sighed.
It's exactly because you've done nothing, and that's what I can't take. I won't elaborate further so you can just pretend that I'm the one in the wrong, and I won't argue against that. But this divorce is happening regardless. If you don't think my alimony is enough, I can add more, but you mustn't go too far either. By the way, I have someone else now. There's nothing going on between us yet, but I'll have him regardless. I hope you won't make things difficult for me and stop our love, and I'll thank you for that. Ted's face paled as he saw how coldly Luna was looking at him and how tender she was when she mentioned that she had someone else. He felt as if he could not breathe, like there was a boulder stuck inside his chest. Eventually, he took a deep breath, picked up the divorce papers and signed it. I don't want any of your alimony. From now on, we will have nothing to do with one another. And with that, Ted strode out of the door as Luna remained on the couch. She watched as Ted left, spacing out. She thought she would be happy, but she felt disembodied instead, like an important piece of her life was lost. Even as her nose turned runny, she murmured, Did I just make a mistake? Of course not. Josie exclaimed in excitement. You'll only go further and higher with that loser gone from your life, and you can properly chase after the one you love. Jimmy Cash is absolutely a million times better than him. Luna's eyes lit up at the mere mention of Jimmy. That was right. He was that young, handsome, mild-mannered heir to an empire who had been quietly helping her on so many occasions. That was why she did not make a mistake. It was only by dumping Ted that she had the right to find the love she wanted. Meanwhile, after Ted left the guest room, he stared at his own hand, not expecting that he had used it to sign those divorce papers and go his separate ways from his beloved. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to laugh. Out with the old, in with the new, as one would put it. Ted had no idea when he left Lunacorp, but he clearly saw how people were looking at him and what they were commenting among themselves. None of them blamed Luna for divorcing him, as all of them put the blame on Ted for being a loser who did not deserve Luna at all. Whatever had happened to this world, really? Ted headed downstairs and was going to get his car when he remembered that Luna had bought it too. He smiled bitterly, shaking his head and handing the keys over to a security guard, telling him to return it to Luna. He said that he did not want anything from Luna, and he would keep that promise. While he was not as wealthy as Luna, he had never spent a dime of her money. In fact, he was the one who had financed Luna's family initially. As he looked back now, the past was nothing but a memory. Things remained the same, but the people had changed. As he walked home, he felt dampness on his cheek and looked up to see snowflakes slowly floating down overhead. It had been years since Melville had seen snow, but it was snowing now. Meanwhile, Luna's family was gathered at number 18, Lake Garden Villas. Luna's mother, Wendy, was pacing around anxiously, as if she was the one going through the divorce. So, is there any news yet? She huffed. Josie said that Luna finally made up her mind to divorce that loser. It should be done by now, right? Luna's father, Thomas, was smoking cigarette after cigarette with a troubled look in his eyes, and he sighed. Is this really appropriate? Ted's a good kid and he really took good care of us. Wouldn't Luna get scorned for this? If men who abandoned their wives once they got rich were hated, would the same not happen to women? However, Wendy was snapping coldly at him right then. We don't owe him shit. We've long since repaid whatever we owed him. And over the years, when has he not been leeching off us? You and your nonsense, old-timer. It's Ted York's own fault for being a loser. How is that our daughter's fault? Don't forget, it's everyone else who's been saying that he doesn't deserve our daughter. So many people have been persuading Luna to divorce that loser, so you don't have to worry about what others say. Hell, they'd be applauding her. Dean, Luna's 20-ish younger brother, chuckled as he lay on the couch just then. Mom's right, I've been so fed up with Ted for so long now. He's in his 30s but he doesn't have a job and has always leeched off Luna. On top of that, he keeps lecturing me. Huh. I would have slapped his face off if he wasn't my brother-in-law. But it's over now. If he dares to run his mouth in front of me again, we'll see what I'll do to him. Thomas sighed in turn. He was constantly bullied by his wife, but he also had to agree with what she was saying. Still, he pointed out, I mean, what if Ted refuses? It would look bad if they took it to court. He dares refuse? Wendy snarled right then, her eyes flashing murderously. What does he want? Claim every dime that my daughter has worked blood and sweat to earn. He really wants to leech off a woman for life. Ha! He can dream on. If that's what he really wants, then I have money and it's just one life. Thomas frowned right then. Watch it. Don't ever say that again, or we'd get in trouble if people hear about this. Wendy knew that she had misspoken too, but what did she have to fear when she was in the safety of her own home? Snorting, she huffed. Who's going to tell on me? You? Whatever, everything I said is the truth, and don't forget that people would kill for just over a couple mil. And my daughter's rich, so quit behaving like a loser. Either way, she will divorce Ted. And if that loser screws around, I'll show him. Before Thomas could speak, the phone rang. Wendy quickly answered and was soon laughing endlessly. As she hung up, she exclaimed excitedly, It's done. Ted signed it. Thomas smiled too. When everything was said and done, he would still support Luna's move to divorce Ted. Dean, who was beginning his career as a rich playboy in Melville, sprang up from the couch, his eyes twinkling. On the other hand, Wendy was frowning after her initial excitement. But Josie also said Luna is paying a lot in alimony. It's not just their car and the villa. She's even paying him millions and giving him the restaurant down Central Street. And it's money. Our money. Even before Thomas could speak, Dean was roaring in furious disapproval. What? The villa too? That's almost 10 million we're talking about. Definitely not the villa, and not cash either. As for the restaurant, there's no chance in hell. That place rakes in so much every day. It isn't right. That's our money, our family's money. Dean turned toward Wendy, his eyes suddenly teary. Mom, you're always complaining that I'm freeloading, right? Then let me be the manager of that restaurant. Forget you and Dad. Luna wouldn't let any of us work at Lunacorp and only gives us money from time to time. Why is she giving Ted so much at once? That's unfair. I can't deal with this. No, this isn't happening. We're Luna's family, Mom. You gave birth to her and raised her. But she's dumping everything to someone outside the family. I don't care. You must do something about this. Wendy was livid too and gritting her teeth as she looked at her son. You're right. There's no reason for some outsider to benefit from us. I won't agree to this either. On the other hand, Thomas sighed again. He felt pain too, but he was more or less rational as he reasoned. Stop it already. It's not like we need that money. It pains me to see it gone too, but Ted's already signed the papers, so less trouble is always better, or we'd get more than what we bargained for. Wendy promptly snapped at him. You're such a loser. Why do we even keep you around? How generous of you, handing off dozens of millions just like that. You must be crazy. Come on, Dean. We're going to see Luna. I doubt she'd fight against me over some loser she just divorced. Let's see if she still considers her mother. Dean's eyes lit up at first, but he cringed at the idea of seeing Luna. Would she really listen? Wouldn't she get upset? Wendy paused for a moment but soon gritted her teeth. She'd never dare. I gave birth to her. Why wouldn't I dare lecture her? And her behavior has made me very upset. Hell, if she refuses, I'll make her give you something too. Don't worry, what's hers is mine and what's mine is yours. And Ted York wants to take it away. Dream on. Come on, we'll talk to your sister first and then Ted. How dare that loser take so much money from us? He'd better hand over everything without a fight, or he won't be alive to spend it. With that, Dean happily followed Wendy outside, emboldened by her support and his own self-important attitude. Thomas was left alone, frowning and sighing. However, none of them was aware that Ted never wanted anything from Luna. He just went back to pack up his belongings. After all, he had been staying there for 2 years and had plenty of personal effects, which could not be packed up and moved that soon. The seemingly empty luxury villa was filled with sweet memories, but it only brought Ted pain now. As he sat on the couch, Ted lit himself a cigarette despite having quit smoking for years. Even as smoke swirled around his cheek, a tear seemed to trickle down. That was when a $1 million sedan stopped outside the guarded villa compound. A bodyguard alighted, asked where Ted lived, and did not stop the car from driving into the villa district. Naturally, the security was not going to stop anyone traveling in such an expensive car. Most importantly, they could recognize that it was owned by the Grahams, a very important family here in Melville. The Grahams also owned shares in the security firm they owned, so would they not be asking to be fired if they stopped their boss car? Although the bodyguard got Ted's address, he was hesitant as he glanced at the youth in the back seat. Sir, wouldn't Master Graham be upset if he finds out that you came looking for Mr. York? The 20-ish youth in the back seat was Lucas Graham, who had long since established himself among the rich and privileged kids of Melville. Seeing the bodyguard's hesitance, he merely snorted in annoyance. My dad's devastated over my mom's illness, and he's too distraught to make time to visit Ted York. And who knows if Ted's actually the miracle healer they say he is. So I came to probe him. Or Dad would just be even more devastated if he turns out to be a fraud. The bodyguard did not dare argue at that, and merely reminded him. Your father also mentioned that it's the White family of Eastport who tipped him about Ted York being a miracle healer. There's no mistaking that, but it seems that Mr. York has also kept his identity hidden from the public. I'm concerned that visiting him unannounced would get the man upset. Lucas smirked in turn. The White family's tip should be solid, but it's not entirely believable either. I mean, how many people these days are eager to garner fame? If he really is a miracle healer as they say, why hide? The way I see it, he must have been lucky. As for whether he likes it or not, it's not like I'm going to do anything to him. I'm just asking for a house call. Now cut the crap and go. I'll take responsibility for whatever happens. Pausing, Lucas' eyes flashed as he continued. To think that my own family always thinks that I'm some jobless, freeloading brat. Huh. Let's see who would dare run their mouths about me again after I score big this time. Let's just hope Ted York is as good as they say, or I'll make him pay for embarrassing me. The bodyguard glanced at the vicious look on Lucas' face, not daring to say another word. That IT was just a few minutes' drive from the gated community entrance, and as they arrived, Lucas and his 2 bodyguards alighted and rang the doorbell. Ted soon answered the door and frowned at the trio outside. Who are you? For once, Lucas shelved the wild nature he showed in the car, smiling as he asked, Are you Ted York the miracle healer? Ted's eyes flashed in annoyance, and he shook his head right then. I am Ted York, but I'm no miracle healer. You have the wrong man. He started to close the door, but Lucas quickly caught it, shaking his head. Why are you rejecting me already? It's only natural that I came bearing sincerity. You could at least hear me out before you decide, right? Ted frowned at him. I said I'm no miracle healer. What more is there to discuss? Lucas simply chuckled. You're being too humble, Mr. York. I understand that you don't want to expose your identity, but it's only natural that we came prepared if we could find you. What's that oath? The oath to do no harm. Moreover, my family has business dealings with Luna Corp, so you really shouldn't be so cold from that fact alone. It really would have been better if Lucas never said that, as Ted's expression suddenly darkened, that he just got divorced. And this prick was using Luna's name to ask him for a favor? Who did he think he was kidding? Sorry, you've got the wrong house. Feel free to see yourself out. And with that, he shut the door in Lucas' face. That left Lucas furious, as no one in Melville had ever disrespected him this much. Still, he gritted his teeth and bore with it, shouting outside, "Mr. York, do we have to speak with Ms. Lambert to acquire your help? In that case, I can ask Ms. Lambert myself." To no surprise, the door opened and Ted stood, glaring icily at Lucas. "Are you challenging me? I'd never dare." Lucas smiled, shaking his head. "But I really have no other choice, with my mother's life at stake. I'm sure you don't want to be exposed, and my mother's health can't wait. So I'm asking you to help. If you do, everything's up for negotiation. I know you're not short on money, but we'll reward you as we should. We shall also continue our partnerships with Lunacorp, and we promise to help them rise further beyond, while you'll receive our family's goodwill. And I'm sure you know how precious our goodwill is here in Melville. So how's that for sincerity?" Naturally, everyone in Melville knew the Grahams, but Ted would not really be this cold if he actually feared them either. If anything, he did not care at all. However, he really hated it when Lucas threatened to go to Luna. In fact, he hated it a lot. "What if I refuse?" Ted then asked. Lucas grinned, as if he had already won. "If you refuse, then you won't have my family's goodwill. Lunacorp is just a billion-dollar company, and for us, crushing it could not be easier. I'm sure you don't want your beloved woman's good work to just fall apart like that, do you? You'd have a lot of trouble explaining yourself to the missus." Ted smiled, as Lucas's self-important attitude was really entertaining. "Are you threatening me?" Lucas smiled as well, but he shook his head. "No, I'm just stating a fact." Ted nodded, holding Lucas' gaze as he said quietly, "Hee hee. Well said, boy, you've convinced me. I heard you're quite famous among the rich and privileged children of Melville too. So you came to ask for my help to prove yourself? But I have to ask, do your parents know that you're here?" "Nope." Lucas shrugged nonchalantly, perfectly calm despite having his cover blown. But he had always been that brazen. "I'm trying to surprise them and show them that I'm not a failure. I'm sure you can understand that, Mr. York, so please be understanding if I've misspoken." Ted let his stare linger for a moment, but he soon chuckled. "Oh, it's nothing. You can go now, Mr. Graham. I'll visit the latest by tonight, and you can tell your parents that you've come to see me too." "Really?" Lucas exclaimed in delight, surprised that this was so simple. Ted smiled in turn, albeit murderously. "Oh, but don't worry. I'll definitely come to your house today. Then I shall stay home and await your arrival." Lucas nodded excitedly. "Thank you for agreeing to my request. Don't worry, we're friends from now on, and I'll tell my father about this once I get back." And with those words, Lucas happily returned to his car and left, never noticing the murderous gaze in Ted's eyes. There really was no one in existence who had ever dared to threaten him before. He would have let it slide. But now that he was divorced and 5 years had passed since, the chains that kept him bound before were broken. Watching as the taillights disappeared from sight, Ted quietly growled, "What a fool! You've just asked for your own doom."